You speak when no one is listening. You respond to your own thoughts. You rehearse conversations that may never happen. And the moment you realize you're doing it, you stop. Because somewhere deep inside, you were taught that talking to yourself means something is wrong. Psychology disagrees. In fact, the human mind was never designed to be silent. Talking to oneself in solitude is one of the most misunderstood human behaviors. It is often dismissed as eccentric, sometimes pathologized, and occasionally mocked. But from a psychological standpoint, self-directed speech is neither accidental nor meaningless. It is a cognitive behavior, a structured mental process that reveals how a person regulates emotion, organizes thought, and maintains internal control. To understand why people talk to themselves, we need to start at the beginning. Point 1. The human brain was built for dialogue. From early childhood, thought develops through language. Long before silent thinking exists, children speak their thoughts out loud. They narrate their actions. They correct themselves. They guide their behavior through words. Psychologists call this private speech. As children grow, this speech does not disappear. It moves inward. For most people, it becomes internal dialogue. For others, it remains partially external. This is not immaturity. It is not regression. It is a difference in how cognition is expressed. When adults talk to themselves aloud, the brain is not malfunctioning. It is continuing a natural thinking process using verbal structure. The mind is not speaking randomly. It is processing deliberately. Point 2. Self-talk is a form of cognitive control. This behavior becomes most visible during moments that demand regulation. Decision-making, problem-solving, emotional pressure. When thoughts become complex, silence becomes inefficient. Speaking out loud slows the mind just enough to organize it. It forces clarity. It creates sequence where there was confusion. This is why people instinctively say, "Let me think out loud." They are not filling silence. They are activating executive function. Neuroscience shows that verbalizing thoughts engages the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for planning, reasoning, and impulse control. For some minds, structure requires sound. Point 3. People who talk to themselves often have cognitively dense minds. Contrary to popular belief, self-talk is not a sign of scattered thinking. It is often a response to too much thinking. Intelligent minds generate more internal material, more thoughts, more simulations, more internal conflict. When internal processing becomes dense, silence is no longer efficient. Studies show that people who verbalize instructions perform tasks faster and with greater accuracy. Words become scaffolding, a framework that holds thought in place. Self-talk is not distraction. It is support. Point 4. Self-talk is often emotional regulation, not logic. Not all self-directed speech is analytical. Much of it is emotional. When a person is alone, there is no external regulator. No reassurance. No immediate validation. The brain compensates. Self-directed speech becomes a way to calm the nervous system, to ground emotion, to reduce internal overload. In psychology, this is called affect regulation. You are doing verbally what the nervous system struggles to do silently. This pattern appears more often in people who learn to self-soothe early. People who had to manage emotional stress without consistent external support. The voice becomes familiar, reliable, present. Point 5. Loneliness increases self-talk because the brain still seeks connection. Humans are social organisms. Even in isolation, the brain does not turn off its social systems. When external dialogue disappears, the mind creates internal simulation, not hallucination. Rehearsal. You replay conversations. You anticipate responses. You explain yourself to no one. This maintains social readiness. It preserves relational understanding. It prepares you for future interaction. This is why self-talk increases during loneliness, emotional distance, or isolation. Silence is not neutral to the brain. It is destabilizing. Point 6. The danger is not talking to yourself. It's how you talk to yourself. There is a psychological difference between guidance and attack. Supportive self-talk stabilizes. Critical self-talk erodes. The brain processes internal criticism the same way it processes external criticism. Neural pathways do not distinguish the source. Over time, hostile self-talk can contribute to anxiety, depression, and low self-worth. This is why therapy focuses so heavily on internal language. Because words become beliefs, and beliefs become identity. Point 7. Self-talk is normal until insight is lost. From a clinical perspective, self-talk is expected, healthy, human. It becomes concerning only when awareness disappears. If the voice feels external, if it feels intrusive, if it feels commanding rather than self-directed. For the vast majority of people, this is not the case. Most people who talk to themselves are aware, intentional, and grounded in reality. Psychology does not pathologize awareness. It protects it. Point 8. High performers use self-talk deliberately. Athletes speak instructions to regulate timing. Surgeons narrate procedures to maintain focus. Writers verbalize thoughts to organize complexity. This is called self-instruction. The mind becomes both coach and performer. Under pressure, those who can guide themselves verbally often remain more stable. Final point. The voice you hear most shapes who you become. The inner voice narrates experience. It explains failure. It assigns meaning. Over time, that narration becomes belief. If the voice is curious, the mind expands. If the voice is compassionate, resilience grows. If the voice is reflective, awareness deepens. Talking to yourself is not a flaw. It is a mirror. The idea that a healthy mind is a silent mind is a myth. Silence is not clarity. It is absence. The human brain was built to speak, to reason, regulate, and reflect through language. So if you talk to yourself when you're alone, you are not broken. You are engaging with consciousness in its most raw form. Sometimes, the most important conversations are the ones no one else hears. If this analysis helped you understand your own mind, subscribe. This channel explores the psychology behind behaviors people are afraid to question. No judgment. No simplification. Only clarity. And if you talk to yourself, don't ask why you do it. Ask how you speak. Because the voice you hear most is shaping who you become.